The Man in My Basement. Oh boy. The film revolves around Charlie, a man who's down on his luck because he's lazy and can't seem to pay his bills. A man comes along by the name of Mr. Bennett, played by Willem Dafoe, who offers Charles a large sum of money to make his problems go away by renting out his basement. So with the synopsis out of the way, let's get to the review. This movie, like most other movies of this year, had potential.
Disappointed!
It had an intriguing story and a nice mystery of why this man rented his basement, why he sought him specifically. And to my surprise, we get none of those answers. The film is well acted, don't get me wrong. The two leads, Corey Hawkins and Willem Dafoe, are amazing. And that's when the film kind of really bears his teeth. It's like, okay, I can sink my teeth into this. There's some good chemistry going on here. We're unraveling this mystery man that's in the basement and Charles, who has secrets of his own. You would think it's leading up to how they both tie into each other, but we don't get that. All we get is a hour and 40 minutes of nothingness. You get maybe 20 minutes of good conversation between Mr. Bennett and Charles, but when we cut away to other characters, that's where the film really falls flat. There's a bunch of half-baked ideas. There's a bunch of racially motivated dialogue that goes nowhere, that it doesn't really expand on anything and explain one side or the other or let you come to some kind of understanding behind the conversation. It doesn't give you much to go off of. It's very surface level, like, hey, black versus white. There's no nuance in between any of the conversations that I've seen. They didn't obey the law of Chekhov's gun, where once you introduce an object or person, you have to make it integral to the story at some point. And them introducing his African heritage, and it doesn't play a part in him surviving this encounter with Mr. Bennett, kind of went to waste. It was set up in that way that this was going to be something that is going to get him through the rest of this film. It bore no weight to the story. Outside of his love interest that came and went, Charles constantly made dumb decisions, specifically when it came to dealing with Mr. Bennett in the basement. At one point, there were two heel turns that just didn't make sense for his character. Now, this is where editing would have came into a factor. Had they moved one of the conversations that they had after he makes these heel turns to before he makes this heel turn, it would have made more sense as to why his character started treating Mr. Bennett in that manner. So basically, Charles doesn't know why Mr. Bennett is there, because initially he didn't care, but now that he's there, he cares all of a sudden. So when Mr. Bennett says, like, hey, you didn't want to know in the beginning, now you want to know all of a sudden, I'm not going to tell you because it's not relevant. And then now Charles is like, okay, well, you're my prisoner now. But just a second ago, you were eager to take his money and you were kind of ready to let him go walk free because you didn't know too much about him. But now all of a sudden you do this. And then there was another point in the movie where he spits in his coffee after nothing being done. Mind you, Mr. Bennett has said nothing to this man. Mr. Bennett gave him both the lump sums that he said he was going to get him in the time that he said he was going to give it to him. So motivation wise, Charles had none. So yeah, this was pretty much a good waste of time because the end of the film doesn't even wrap these story plots up. There's a friend in here that gets married and that's shown, but the relationship he had with the woman was barely even mentioned. The stories that you don't care about are wrapped up in a nice little bow at the end, but it's kind of left in a art housey fashion. Your interpretation of what happened and why he was there is up to you. You know, it's left open-ended, and I'm like, you can't end films like that unless the meat of it, the majority of the film is good. And the only time you leave something like this ambiguous is if there was a moral question that needed to be answered, and it only could be answered by the character or the audience. And that's not what we got here. We needed something to sink our teeth into and to wrap up the storyline as to why the man in the basement was there and as to why he did what he did before the end of the film. And we get answers to none of that. So I'd give this a 1.5 out of 5 stars. Like I said, it left nothing for me. I felt like a big waste of time. There was a bunch of undertones that were good, but it didn't service the story. It didn't help unravel the mystery at the end. There wasn't nothing brought. The film didn't wrap up nicely and give us something to think about. There was no good takeaway from this film. The pacing was horrible, and frankly, it was about a good 15 minutes, 30 minutes too long. So with that being said, thanks for watching this review. If you like this review, like, share, comment, subscribe, and I will catch you on the next one.